that you establish within your departments for communicating. You may assign certain people in your department to actually take ownership of certain activities for your strategic plan. Well, that person needs to maybe do report outs at your staff meetings. That person may need to do specific projects that will be socialized across the department. There's all kinds of things that individuals can take ownership of within your departments to help move that strategic plan forward. If they're involved in it, if they're engaged with it, if they're acting on it, then you actually see some movement because you have people who've taken ownership of the process versus, again, sitting back and watching you do it. Whatever resources that you might need for a communications plan, you'll need to identify those. You won't need many. Now, you might need to pay for lunch. That would be, a budget for lunch. That would be one resource that you have to figure it out. But you won't need a lot of resources to actually communicate with your staff about the strategic plan. Then you have to have milestones and timelines. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little story. I was up in Kansas again. I always go to Kansas every couple of months. I was up in Kansas a couple of weeks ago attending a National Advisory Council meeting. I'm on the council for the A.Q. Miller School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Kansas State University. And we are working with the department director on developing a strategic plan that ties into the university's 2025 vision plan. And the first question I wanted to know was, what was the budget associated with the plan? And the director looked at me like I was crazy, okay? I said, well, what resources are you going to need? What timeline are you need to have to put in place to actually achieve the things you say you want to achieve in this plan? You have to think about the execution part of the plan. A lot of times people do the plan, and I've seen a lot of great strategic plans sitting on shelves. They never get done because no one thinks about the implementation part or the action plan or the operating plan to actually implement the plan. So be thinking about all those elements that you want to see happen within your communications plan so that you can make sure you are actually hitting the milestones, hitting the timelines, because you have to measure it at some point. There's a marketing term that I'm familiar with. You may be familiar with it too. When we talk about effective frequency. If you send out an email last year saying there's a new strategic plan and that's all you did, that's not communicating. No, people have forgotten that one. You've got to bake in ongoing communication, regular communication with your staff about the strategic plan. If the strategic plan is not an agenda item on your staff meeting or has not been an agenda item on your staff meetings, you've missed an opportunity. That's including faculty and staff. You have to make sure that you serve that role as a connector between strategy, behavior, and results. Okay, some things you need to listen out for as you're developing this communications plan. You may hear people say, it's not our strategy. That's what those people, I've heard this here. That's what those people in the ivory tower think we ought to do. I've heard that here. Okay? There's going to be some undercurrents to you developing your plan that you need to be aware of. They don't appreciate us. They're always making excuses. Did you hear? Did you hear? What mission statement? People have got to be engaged in what it is that you're trying to get done. And engage is kind of a big, broad word in the concept, but I mean they have to show action. There's got to be behaviors tied to moving your department into implementing your strategic plan going forward. Other things to listen out for. They treat us like crap. It's the same old story. Because the boss says so, that's why. This is how we've always done it. And the last one, just don't screw it up. Okay? Just don't screw it up. These comments, these thoughts undermine implementation of your strategy. These are what I call the gremlins behind the strategy. These are people who, they're sitting in the meeting, they're pretending like they're participating, but at the same time, they're not actually lifting. They're not helping with the heavy lifting to get things done. So you have to be mindful of those things that might actually undermine what it is you're trying to get done as you develop and communicate and implement your strategic plan. Okay, number 4. Know what your employees hear when you say certain things. I got some examples. What employees hear when you say it's university policy? I don't agree with it, but they say I got to do it. That's you saying you don't buy into it. Why should they buy into it? The next one. Bring that up at the next meeting. Well, what they hear is, I really don't know what the answer is. Maybe somebody at the staff meeting will have an answer for us. I would like you to, that translates into, this is a direct order, but I don't want it to come across as a direct order because you'll go tell people I'm putting too much on your plate. You'll think I'm bulldozing and being heavy-handed with you. That's how those things get translated. So we have to be mindful of that as well. Another example. I'm not sure what's going on here. Translation, it's none of your business, but I can't say it that way. Okay? Because if I tell you, then I'm going to have to explain it. And it's not really time for it to come out yet. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's not go over stuff. We have too much to do. We tried that. We've attacked it at all angles. No need to start over with that. That's another thing you might hear people say. Number 3, prune the grapevine. What do I mean by that? Keep an eye on workload. Keep an eye on workload. Recognize employees who are what it says up there, being underutilized, react quickly, and communicate consistently across the board. Oops, sorry. I ran across a concept that I think is very important in this whole process. It's what we call, the HR folks probably are aware of this, it's what we call a stay interview, where you actually are meeting with your high performers in your department and you're getting input from them. You're getting suggestions from them on the plan, on ideas, and things to help improve the department. And it's been labeled a stay interview because you never know what people are thinking about as you're thinking about, okay, we're going to go through this massive change. Is everybody going to be on board with it? So think about conducting a stay interview to kind of get a sense of who's in your camp, who's working with you, who's going to be there for you going forward. Now, this next thing, you've probably heard of this show before. I want to put some things up on the screen. I just want you to think about it, what you would do, what you would say, okay? You don't have to blurt it out, but just want you to think about it, okay? Now, if you heard West Georgia was turning into a black school, what would you think? What would you say? That's a rumor that I've heard, okay, about here at the university. Now, I have a story that's related to that. When I was the Associate Dean of Marketing and Recruiting at John Marshall Law School, one of the rumors about the school was that it was only for blacks. That was a rumor about the school. Another rumor was they accepted anybody. Okay, they didn't have LSAT standards. Another rumor that it wasn't accredited. Those kind of rumors in the marketplace will kill a business. Now, I was at my dentist's office when I first started with that with the law school, and he said, "Oh, you work at John Marshall? I thought they'd gone out of business." Okay? Those 4 rumors are killer rumors to a law school, okay? So I had to develop a strategy to get the right information out to the marketplace, strategies to help prospective students understand where the school was, what the standards were, and all those kinds of things. 26% of the law school, yes, ethnic minorities. That doesn't make it a black school, okay? I think the number's close around here at West Georgia as well. Another rumor that I've heard, that you guys are thinking about abolishing the Greek system here. Okay? Might be a good idea, but that's a rumor. I'm not Greek, so don't get mad at me. I just threw that out there, okay? Merging with Georgia Highlands, I actually have heard that. I actually heard that one myself. Merging with West Georgia Tech. The whole idea is, what would you do with these rumors? Now, here's a little gossip. Okay? What would you do? Would you repeat it? Would you go confirm it? What would you do? The last one up here, Alan's truck was still at the bar late last night. What would you do? What would you say? It wouldn't be me, though, okay? All right? With my cranberry and water, that's about it. That's about as strong as I get. Okay, so think about it. Would you put your head in the sand? Okay? Would you get a bullhorn and be the campus crier? What would you do? Or would you just think about, okay, the implications of sharing the information or repeating the information? So one of the things you want, is what I'm about to repeat or is what I'm hearing actually true? We have to be responsible with information. You may be sitting in an upper level meeting one day and someone reports something going on in another department. And that person, the person who runs the department is not present. But you take that information that may be true or not, and you actually spread that information. And the information comes back to be false. You've participated in spreading the false information. So you have an opportunity, you have a responsibility to be serious about the information that you receive and about the information that you share. So you may ask the messenger, where did you get that from? Oh, let's go confirm that right now. Is that true? There's all kinds of things you should do with information, especially if it's coming from weird sources. The other thing you need to think about is how will that information, if it's incorrect, how will it affect another department, an individual, or the division? If true, some rumors are true. But if true, the rumor still may have some implications on an individual or department or division. So you have to take responsibility for that information. I think I said this last time. Think about how you would feel to see your name associated with a rumor on the front page of the newspaper. You take some information you got from someone and you just pass it on at will. And then your name is attached to it as the source of the rumor. So think about that as you get information from folks. If you hear some information and you're not getting it directly from someone who is actually directly involved with it, then you have to ask yourself, am I directing my comments to the person who actually owns this particular situation? That would be a responsible thing to do, to go actually double check what's going on with that particular thing. So those are things for you to think about for that. Now, number 2, be busy instead of a busy bee. Be busy instead of a busy bee. What do I mean by that? Don't be a statistic. I was reading something the other day that says we spend on average 65 hours a year gossiping. 65 hours a year. I'd love to have that time back. So think about that. You get time back, you maintain your productivity, and you're not available to participate in it. There are some people who know when they bring things to me, I give them a certain look. And I'm just not me. Just take that somewhere because I'm not really interested in participating in that. And you have to be strong enough. Now, if it affects me, then I want to hear it. If it affects me. But if it's gossip or rumor about an individual and their issues, I really don't want to participate in that because it really doesn't affect me. And that's kind of a personal standard that I have. And other people have those same kind of standards because if you engage in that, because I know what happens. If 2 people are talking about one person, somebody could come up to you and say, oh, God, he was this and he was that. And my mom told me years ago that a dog that will bring a bone will what? Carry a bone. Think about that. A dog that will bring a bone will carry a bone. What do I mean? Well, somebody could bring you information, and they leave you, and then all of a sudden you're the source of the information. Because I was talking to Alan the other day, and this is what we said. That's how it happens. Just that simple. Just think about that. What's that say? Loose lips sink ships. Loose lips sink ships. I learned that a long time ago. Because if you have free talk, incorrect talk, that could be sowing undermining seeds throughout your organization. And you will be wondering why you can't accomplish certain goals. Because there may be a faction within the organization that's actually working against you. So you have to make sure that you're a role model for accurate information going forward. And number 1, trust but verify. Now, I have to dispel a rumor. It is thought that Ronald Reagan actually came up with this saying. How many have heard that? Okay, not true. It's a Russian proverb that he made famous. but he doesn't own it. And the other subline of it says, inspect what you expect. Yes. Whatever you want your team to do. Yes, give the directive, but you have to follow up. You have to confirm. That's a part of being a manager. That's a part of being a leader. It's not about micromanaging. There's a difference. It's about, let people know that you're going to follow up, that you're going to hold them accountable as a part of this process. Now, today, I've tried to give you some other things to think about as you go about implementing your strategic plans for your divisions and units. The one thing I want to leave you with is that there are 915 people here at the University of West Georgia who need information, who need good information, because they're participating in the grapevine. And you want to make sure that the balance is positive, accurate, complete information. Remember the 7 C's I talked about the last time. More of that in the grapevine versus gossip, innuendo, venting, all those things. Because if you get that balance up here, then you have a chance everybody's moving in the same direction. And that's what you want. I applaud the efforts you are undertaking. I applaud it. Because it's a huge undertaking on top of everything else that you have to get done. But I do believe at the end, when you see that valley of success and opportunity, you'll appreciate the heavy lifting that you're doing right now. And that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you.
All right, so Alan, thank you. Great presentation as usual. You mentioned, I think it was step 4 in improved communication, know what your employees hear when you say, and then you gave a list of items. That's actually an area of opportunity. I think in human resources, a lot of the things that we interact with have to do with employee communications between their managers, employees, peers. What are some suggested readings or some areas that you would encourage persons that have an interest in that to focus on?
Well, I think it's important that there is a dialogue between manager and employee. I do still like that idea of everybody being equal and going out to a place and working. If I'm understanding your question,